Here we have the Blader of Summer to tell you about muscle cars.
Yep.
Now, before he starts talking about muscle cars for 3 to 5 minutes, this will be similar to last time where we had the Blader of Summer telling you about cars and Auto Challenge. It'll be the same thing, and then I'll do the same thing telling you about supercars. So here's the Blader of Summer to tell you about muscle cars.
Muscle car, those are cool cars. You're going back, you have to go back to the 60s to the original first muscle car, which is the GTO by Pontiac. It was started coming out, they had to make something fun. We had some plain old cars, and people started coming out that had the GTO, and then some other companies started with the pony cars. You had that Mustang, which was very, very popular run for Ford, and Camaro, and Firebird, and Le Mans, and they had a lot of different ones. Oldsmobile had the 442, which is kind of on the same platform what GM did with the Le Mans and the Malibu, and it's kind of the same basic type of car, but they just put some big engines. They put a 4-barrel. Sometimes you put the 6-pack in there. Really, just put a lot of horsepower in a car. They were light and they were just fun, and they handled a lot better than what a lot of cars had done. You know, in that same time, you started seeing the beginning of radial tires, which helped with the handling from the bias tires that were out there, you know, up to that point. So it was designed for fun. The cars weren't especially expensive compared up to the other cars, and it got an awful lot of muscle out of it. It made it fast, you know, and there were some early days. There were the early Lamborghinis and the early Ferraris and things of that nature. You know, they were for speed, but
The Miura?
The
Miura?
Well, yeah, those are the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris.
I don't understand. The Miura was the Lamborghini.
Right, and all that stuff. But these came out, but this was American muscle. That's what it was all about.
American muscle cars.
Or basically American. They didn't do much of that over in Europe. It was all about America, kind of flexing our muscle with our muscle cars, and having them be cars that everybody could drive. Typically, you had anybody from rednecks to, the guy working at the factories and things like that, and even the movie stars would come out with the occasional muscle car. But the muscle cars were actually really well known and got a real big move into the movies. You got to see Mustangs, and you did see GTOs, and there were Challengers and Chargers. Everyone knows the Chargers from Dukes of Hazzard, the old General Lee classic muscle car, and was outrunning the police. It's kind of something that was really kind of neat, and it's kind of followed the suit at the beginning. Really starting to see a surge from NASCAR. A lot of those things back in the 60s with Richard Petty and people like that, Benny Parsons and whatnot, David Pearson, and all those cars. People had something that they could say, oh, this is on the track on Sunday, and they were sold on Monday. So all the different cars were showing up on NASCAR, and so you could watch the races on TV or go to the races somewhere and see these cars, and then you could take that home and have a little bit of that redneck race car, NASCAR circuit stuff for yourself. And that was something that a lot of people really like to do. So with that, muscle cars, they're a lot of fun. Muscle cars, purely American. And muscle cars, if you can get your hands on one now, an old Camaro, an old Z28, an old Trans Am or something like that, they're just the cool cars that the cool kids and the cool people would drive, and something that is still cool today. And, it's such a cool thing that they're even trying to make retro things. The Challengers and the Chargers and the souped up Mustangs, they're making a comeback. People would like to see that kind of stuff. Little American muscle. Alright, there you go.
So that was the Blader of Summer telling you about muscle cars. Coming up next, I will be telling you about supercars. And later, we will have the first episode of Auto Challenge Season 2. Be sure to check out all of those